you said something of, well, man, look, we can just chat. We don't got to talk about business. And what was my response? Do you remember?
No.
Okay. My response was, yes, but these conversations are also our hobby. This is what's fun. There's a guy named Neil Dingra, and I challenge anyone in a mindset entrepreneur space to go follow Neil. It's just Neel Home, Neil Home, on Instagram. Really good friend of mine. Met him several years ago. We both got to interview Gary Vee. We collaborate on some content. He's just exploded the last couple of years. And when he and I were talking, it was right when the pandemic started in 2020, and we were both looking to level up content and pitching around ideas. We really connected as friends. We'd known each other for a year or two, but we really connected on a friendship level because we shared how unrelatable we felt to so many people, even in our friendship group or even in business, like friends and colleagues and contemporaries, because all we wanted to do was build our business, talk about our business. We didn't have other hobbies and quote-unquote fun things that we did very much anymore because we were so passionate. It was not only our work, it was also our fun. So we didn't feel like a workaholic. We did balance family time and things like that, but our fun was also that. And that's what it was yesterday. Yes, you let me be me. Yes, we talked a lot about business and mindset and things, but we weren't talking about history and memory. We were talking about vision and where we're going and the goals and why things are happening and wanting to take it apart so we can understand how it works better to make it work better and move forward. That's fun for me. Not everyone's like that, and I don't think I was initially built that way, but the whole, I'm going to watch college football on Saturday, pro football on Sunday, I've got the 9 to 5, I'm going to take my couple weeks of vacation there. The 9 to 5 thing's just not me. And I knew it wasn't me it was 2002 or 2003. I worked a corporate job for a trucking company where I was a corporate recruiter. It was essentially a glorified telemarketer. We just called truck drivers, tried to schedule them for orientation. And I lived about 20 minutes, 25 minutes away from where the office was. And I had to be there at 8. If I left at 7, I would get there at 7:30. If I left there at 7:05, I'd get there at 8:05. Like, it was just, there was construction on the highway and there was all this stuff. I actually think, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't think I ran out of gas. There was one instance where I did run out of gas. I don't think this was this instance. I think I just showed up 5 or 10 minutes late. But we always had a meeting right at 8 o'clock whenever we started the day. And really all it was, there was 4 teams. Each team, the manager for each of the teams, essentially told you how shitty you did the day before and how you need to get it better today. And one of those guys that just did not understand that 98% of people do not respond to negative motivation. You tell somebody's a piece of shit, that doesn't motivate them to want to do better.
At least as adults, we don't.
100%. He didn't understand that. That's just how he drove the bus. It was the same thing, something super profound that I say profound, super impactful and important that you said earlier. Just because someone's a really good salesperson does not make them a great leader. You said manager, but in this context, it's the same thing. Management skills, leadership skills, they're not mutually exclusive to good sales skills, but just because you're a phenomenal salesman doesn't mean you have management and leadership skills. This is a perfect example of a guy that crushed it as a recruiter, that they promoted to a manager that was a shitty manager. I walk in, the meeting was already done. He's sitting, there was 4 cubicles, like back-to-back, face-to-face, there's these rows. I was the second one down. He's sitting in my chair, spinning. I walk up.
Just waiting for you to come in late. Just waiting.
Yeah, just being a
being a dick.
Dude, totally. Walks up. He sees me, and he spins 2 more times. And then he looks at his watch, and he looks back at me, and he goes, "We start at 8 o'clock." And he got up and walked away. He could have said, "Hey, man, is everything okay? Hey, man, I know you had a baby. Like, you good?" Like, he could have done any number of things. He could have even scolded me. But because he responded in that way.
It's not called passive-aggressive.
Yeah, I think a little bit passive-aggressive, but also, I don't care what's going on in your life. You need to care about this. And I just hadn't been around a lot of people in the true corporate world like that. There was a lot of other toxic traits. There was people sleeping with people. There was people doing drugs. Like, there was all kinds of stuff. It was just a toxic environment. But right then, in that moment, all things being equal, I made the decision right then and there. I'm never going to work a corporate 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever it was.
Why?
Because at that job, my 15-minute break was from 10:30 to 10:45. My lunch was from 12 to 1. My afternoon break was 2:30 to 2:45, and I left at 5. And everything in between was what they said. And it wasn't that I wasn't willing to do the work, because honestly, I made double in that job than I did the job I'd come from before that. But I just knew I'm not built for this. There's no thought to it. There's no innovation. It's truly the same thing over and over. And I already knew what the definition of insanity was. And that was what was happening in that environment.
Doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about this 9 to 5 thing. I think that's a popular conversation. All right. I believe from so many people that I talk to, the majority. So anything majority is 51% or more.
Right.
I think the majority of the people I know, the majority of the people in my family, the majority of the people that I grew up around, went to high school with, went to college with, until I arrived at this real estate world, I think the majority of the people know that 9 to 5 is bullshit. And there's something about it, maybe because people inherently just can't find a way to be happy with life.
Yeah.
But they think they don't want the 9 to 5. All right. Okay. What did you have to do to make sure that you didn't have to accept the 9 to 5?
I had to work 7 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. See, here's the irony of the people that don't want the 9 to 5. A lot of people don't want the 9 to 5 because they're not willing to do the work. And they don't understand that earning your right to not have a 9 to 5 means working twice as much as you would have if you had a 9 to 5. For me, I wasn't ever afraid of the work. I shared earlier, my dad was a builder. I learned all of my work ethic from him. He, to this day, he's got, he's had shoulder replacements. He's had both of his hips replaced. He's got stents in his heart. Like, he's the bionic man now, right? And still works every day because that's all he's ever known. He started hauling hay and working in a sawmill, played college baseball, built a construction company. He just a hard-working, all-American dude. My mom was a teacher, so she was always the academia, also education, because I think there's a difference. Academia and education are different things. Education is learning. Academia is an institution that's...
So you're all about education. You just have some issues with academia.
Not some, a lot, okay. But yes. And I say that because I have no problem doing the work. I'll do the work. There's not going to be many people, if anybody, they're going to outwork me pursuing something that I'm passionate about. But I wasn't willing to be a part of working for someone else where I was working harder than they were. And even now, people in my business that I'll coach, I will get in the mud and the gravel, get on the pavement, whatever euphemism you want to use, and I'll work hard in someone else's business, but I will not work more in someone else's business than they're willing to. I don't care if they're on my team or whether they're an owner. And there's a whole lot of reasons for it, just history and whatnot. But I just came to a place to where if I'm not compensated tangibly or intangibly for the work that I put in, and someone who's telling me to go do that isn't meeting me at the level that I'm willing to commit to, that this is not the place for me.
So we're talking about mindset.
It's all mindset.
Evolving from that 9 to 5,
right?
Getting into a commission-based structure or a salary plus commission, whatever it is. How does someone know? Because from the real estate perspective and building this real estate company, I never talk about the brand because that's not what this podcast for me is about. However, I found that real estate, you found through mortgage, it has a special feature that can financially unlock your life. If you're willing to go all in, it literally is something that doesn't have a ceiling. Mm-hmm. I've seen people accomplish in both of our industries financially things that give them a life that you can only dream of.
100%.
Right? But the something we take extreme concern, and we try to hold it really close to ourselves is, I don't want people to ruin their life.
Yeah.
I don't want them to ruin their life to come and get a real estate license, to quit their 9 to 5, whatever. I don't care if they were making $40,000 or if they were making $170,000. I don't want them to walk away from it just because this thing's sexy, because it is. It's sexy to think like, wow, unlimited potential. Man, look at the life. Whatever the dreams, the hopes and the dreams that you see the Kardashians or anybody living on Instagram, Oh, it's possible. It's 100% possible through real estate that I know and you know through mortgage. But I don't want people to ruin their life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to walk away from that safety that they've established. Now, the safety sucks because here's what it means. You can pay your mortgage. You can pay your car payment. You can probably take a nice vacation, probably, and that nice is all based on what's. But you're not going to Europe.
Right. You're
not going to Hawaii. You might go on a cruise on the cheap and stay in the shitty where you have a portal window, but you might not get the nice sweet balcony. But you can have the life that you've built. You're just not going to have any more. But it's really risky walking away from that because how do they know if they've got it? How do we know?
I don't think you do know. I think it's a decision on whether you have it or not. It's not inherently given. Like this whole our leaders made, not born, like this whole debate. My belief system is that having it or not having it in the context of what you're talking about, the it is a decision. You can become the it. You can do the it, but you have to decide and you have to do the work. The work isn't just the tactical things. We all want to know what our 7 steps to success are. We all want to know what's the secret sauce to making it happen. And they don't realize that the longest journey they're ever going to take is between their own ears. That's just as much work, if not more work, than anything you're ever going to do tactically.
So what does someone do to get to work on between our ears?
You need to find people that are where you want to be and ask them how they do that. And if you don't have access to them, you need to consume their content. You need to read their books. You need to listen to their podcasts. You need to find anywhere you can and consume the information on what they're saying because they're not saying it for their health. The truly elite level people aren't saying the shit that they're saying to sell more books, to get more listeners on their podcast, to make more money. Why? Because they don't need to. They've already made it. It's not about the money at that point in time. It's about legacy. It's about, are people going to remember you, right? It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You get to a point to where taking care of your basic needs, taking care of your wants and desires, taking care of all that stuff is done, to now you're looking for significance, or you're looking for, how do I, when I leave this earth, not just be some other rich dude, some other gal that was super successful? How do I get to be remembered? How do I do legacy? And if you watch some of these really, really influential people, and I'm not talking influencers. That's why I say influential people. There's a big fucking difference.
You might not even know. We might not know their name, but a lot of people do.
Right.
Because they've influenced people.
Right. I'm saying people of significance, people of influence that have created something, that have done something, that are trying to give back. They're not doing it to make more money at that point in time. They may make more money doing that than they ever have, but that's not their why at that point in time, because those...
What are they influencing? Behavior?
I think it all still goes back to mindset, because it doesn't matter. You can only influence behavior for a short period of time. I can't get you to behave a certain way long periods of time. I can influence your mindset and help you change what you think and the decisions you've made that are going to lead to your behaviors long term, but that's part of the reason that there's certain times, like as a child, whenever you're spanking or swatting hands or taking those types of actions to change someone's behavior, you are changing their behavior in the moment, but at those ages where your mind's developing, you're changing mindset. You're creating this equals bad. And they don't think about the spanking or the swat on the hand. I'm not advocating for spanking or not, whatever. I'm just saying we think we were changing behavior, but we're really changing the mindset because we're creating that programming at that age, right? Then as we get to adults, we can't change their behavior because the mindset is already there. All you can hope to do is reprogram the mindset, and at that point it's a hairy curve, so they have to be on board for it.
You know what's incredible about 2022? See, when I was born in 79, so I'm 43. You're a couple years behind me.
I thought you were a lot older than me. Just messing with you.
I'm insulted. My production team is going to start losing respect because the all-amazing Phil Treadwell just insulted the host. But no, like when I was born, the things that we have at our fingertips now, people that were our age in 79 and 85 and 90, up until about 95, 96, 97, they didn't have access readily at their fingertips that we have now.
Nope.
The books, whether it's through Audible, though it's through YouTube, We have access to all of this. So even if your parents didn't have the financial understanding and knowledge, they don't need to have it anymore. They just need to care about you and get you to a point where you can understand it and go get it yourself. We now have access to see that anything's possible, because what my mind tells me is whatever I can dream, unless I think I'm going to be Elon Musk, who's the most wealthy guy even though he's really not. He's the most wealthy guy who we're documenting what his worth is.
Oh, yeah.
There's people like Putin and the people in Saudi Arabia and those people. But the wealth as we see it today and understand it, unless I think I want that, which I don't need that. I don't need that level. Anything that we can dream and hope of for our lives has already been done. And all we have to do is type in a little thing in Google, type it into YouTube, and there's someone telling us how to do it.
So what does that mean? And I'll ask the question. So what does that mean for people that want to be successful, build a business, achieve something? I don't care whether it's a big goal or a small goal. What does that mean for how they need to go about doing that? How does that change the dynamic?
I believe they just need to replicate what someone who's already done the thing that they want, like literally you just get started. Let's read the book to your point. You're going to have something else you're going to say because you have way better in-depth thought about this. But I'm a basic guy. And this basic guy just realizes like, oh, okay, so let's just say somebody wants to make $100 million. There needs to be a reason why you need to make $100 million. Let's just say, let me go find people who've made $100 million. There's plenty of them out there. Who do you want to read? Do you want to read Richard Branson's book? Do you want to read Ray Dalio's book, The New Guy Based on Principles? Do you want to do what Steve Jobs did? Because I believe that Steve Jobs actually was adopted. He was half Syrian and half something else. He was adopted and felt like he wasn't loved and had all these things inside of himself. And he came up with this idea and partnered with the Steve Wozniak, who was really the brains behind it. Steve Jobs just sales guy, sales and marketing guy. There's just these stories time after time after time after time. They're out there. So the only thing I believe I need to do, because I think I'm an average level intelligent guy, I just think I need to go find the people, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and just do what they did.
So here's again, the part B to the question is, if the people in 78, 79 didn't have access to the information and went and achieved it, and the people today do.
They just believed they could.
Right.
They just believed it could. That's my response.
Right. So my response to that question is, what's different? I don't think there's anything different. I think we need to understand that the commonality between the two is in 78 and 79, when they didn't have access to the information, versus the people that are here today and have the access for information. The thing that has to happen in both instances is you have to make a decision that I'm going to go do this. Because here's the deal. Someone told me a long time ago, when the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. That's it. When the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. Because here's the deal. A dream that someone has, no one has a dream that they don't have at least a little bit of belief that it can come true. Because we're not just going to be like, I'm going to go walk on Mars. That's my dream, is to walk on Mars. Unless they think there's some outside chance that that could actually get accomplished. So we have a little bit of belief there. So if the dream is big enough, meaning important enough, not big as in I want a fleet of billion-dollar yachts. I'm not talking size. I'm talking big enough, important enough. When the dream's big enough, when it matters enough to us, the facts don't count anymore. Why? Because we've made the decision this is going to happen. Therefore, all of our behavior and all of our actions should, if we've truly made the decision, follow through with the decision we've made. They're now going to take action. They're now going to get their
fire,
stuff.
Aim.
Yes.
Speak to that.
Yes. That's been a motto of my life. The reason that you asked something earlier about how I got to be this person, it wasn't like one day a switch flipped and I'm like, I'm going to go think like this or do these things. The most transparent answer I can give is I'm not scared of rock bottom because I've been there. I've seen decisions work out really well, and I've just seen decisions fail miserably. And for me as a person, my greatest fear was the unknown. Now I don't really have a fear of the unknown. It can create some anxiety, but I'll look at a situation and think, what's the worst case scenario that I can comprehend in this scenario? And I get okay with that, and it never comes to that. But if I'm okay with the worst case scenario, and even if it goes bad, it doesn't go near what I was okay with.
Is it because you're not thinking about it then?
I don't know. I think it's because I don't like not knowing. I don't like.
Why do you keep $100 in your pocket?
Because there's almost no issue that comes up in a day that can't be solved with $100.
So you don't have to think about the issue anymore.
There's no uncertainty,
right?
Again, but that's the fear, the anxiety that I even have some anxiety thinking about it. Like even right now, I don't like having fear. I don't like being anxious. And those typically for me historically, and I'm very careful with my words and how I say it, historically these have come from not knowing something, how it's going to turn out, what's going to happen. So the way to unlock that for me personally is I either do some research, figure out pretty much what I think it's going to be like if I'm scared of like what's that going to be like, or if I know what something is and I'm just not sure how it's going to turn out, I look at the absolute worst case thing that I could even comprehend, and it never, knock on wood, never turns out in the worst case scenario that we can comprehend in our mind. But if we've gotten okay with that, for me, I say I've gotten okay with that. Anything short of that, yeah, it's not great, but it's not debilitating. And I think that only happened because I've had really bad shit happen. We all have, though.
See, that's the point.
I'm not.
And we're going to continue to.
Right.
Our lives are not going to be perfect. There are going to be unforeseen challenges that being a human that we're going to consistently face.
If you're on a high right now, brace yourself because some bad shit probably will happen. And when you're going through some bad shit, just hang on because it's going to get good. It doesn't mean it has to be life-altering, though. That's the thing. Everyone's going to get curveballs. Everyone's been through some stuff, have had to deal with things. I truly believe that when you're going through something really bad or even a little bit bad, it's for only one of two reasons. It's because you're either getting sharpened and prepared for something else later on in life that you're going to need that set of skills to have to be able to crush and conquer and push through, or there's someone who's going to come along who doesn't have the skill set to handle that thing, but because you've been through it, you're going to be in a position to help them. I truly believe those are the only two reasons that we go through stuff. And the way I look at it, both of those are wins because I'm either sowing good into someone else's life and that's going to reap a harvest back in my life through someone else, or I'm getting prepared for something greater than what I'm going through. Now, whether or not, this is the important part, whether or not that's true doesn't matter because that's what I believe. My belief now drive everything else that I do. My actions, my mindset, how I educate myself, how I think, the people that I surround myself with.